Welcome to With Wellner Anderson. This is the channel where we talk about historical things, economic things, and political things in simple English. Today we're going to talk about the 1943 Detroit riots. You need to take a look at this magazine. This magazine was issued by Life magazine in 1942. The United States government asked Life magazine to pull this copy because of the defaming pictures and what was written about the riots in Detroit. It was the beginning of World War II. There was a lack of workers. In Detroit, there was a lack of housing as well. The Detroit Free Press said that Detroit had been headed for a riot for 3 years. At the Packard Company in Detroit on June 1943, when the Packard Company announced that black workers would work on the same conveyor line as white workers, an announcement went out that said, I'd rather see Hitler win the war than having to work next to a blank. Let's talk about Detroit historically first. I will show you the pictures at the end of the video. Detroit was discovered in 1701. It was known mainly for beavers and hunting. It was a backwater town until Governor Bill Clinton in New York built the Erie Canal. At that point, that made Detroit a major point of access to the rest of the world. There was a fire in 1805. It became the capital of Michigan in 1831. In that same time, please remember, Detroit was always a principal place in the Underground Railroad because of its connection to Ontario, where slavery was prohibited. Thornton Blackburn was an ex-slave that left Kentucky with his wife Lucy and came to Detroit to try to get to Canada to get away from slavery. His wife made it. He was captured. He was brought to jail, and there were massive riots by the African-American community to get him out of jail. He did eventually escape and headed to Ontario to meet his wife. Detroit at one time was called the Paris of the West. In the 1950s, it had the highest per capita income of any city in the United States. Once was the fourth largest city in the United States, a transportation hub, and the automotive industry, which can't be left out. For the black community, the Great Migration came in two phases, 1900 to 1920 and 1940 to 1970. Many cohorts came to Detroit because unskilled workers could find a job. The population of Detroit pretty much remained the same except the black population began to grow. Between 1930 and 1940, there were roughly about 1.6 million people in Detroit. In 1930, it was 120 million blacks. 1940, 150 million blacks. By 1950, it was 1.9 million people and 100,000, I'm sorry, the actually was 120,000 and 150,000 blacks, I'm sorry, and 300,000 blacks. So let me just go back and just cover that up. There was a housing problem in Detroit. Detroit is a large city. It is the size of Boston, Manhattan, and San Francisco to get put together. There were some places in Detroit where people lived together, like Connor's Garden, but an interesting situation happened in 1942 when the U.S. government and the Detroit Housing Authority decided to build the Sojourner Truth housing project for black people, being that nobody really had sufficient housing in Detroit. It was built in a mixed neighborhood. Now here's the strange thing. You can look and you can see, as you do your research, that they say that the struggle that happened that time was because of the renters versus the homeowners. And they also say that the area where Sojourner housing project was going to be built was, they say, was an integrated neighborhood. I can't find anything documenting that. It looked to me like it was a white neighborhood. When they decided to implement the Sojourner housing projects, there were riots from the white community. Eventually, the first blacks moved in. There were crosses burned. There were 150 people arrested, the majority being black citizens. So in 1943, Detroit was dynamite. Both black and white people lived in substandard housing for the large part. The Japanese even tried to get black American soldiers to turn against them by using the information in this article to try to convince them America was not for them. But Detroit, again, was a great place to go if you had little skills and you needed to make some money. June 1943, there was an incident on the Bell Bridge. On the Bell Bridge, it was told that white soldiers had beaten up some black people. And the story in the black community was that a black woman and her child was thrown from the bridge. And that sparked a major riot in which we're going to take a look at right now. Of the 43 people killed, 25 were black and 9 were white. 85% of the 1,800 arrests were made on black citizens. Now we're going to take a look at the pictures. So just bear with me for a moment and we're going to go through these. You've never seen these before unless you had this magazine. And again, I said this magazine was banned. Okay. This is the first picture. And this is a picture of a gentleman getting off a bus that's been, well, it speaks for itself. Let me move on to the second picture. If you look carefully, you'll see a young man running from hundreds of people that are going to get him. On the bottom, you see a man being harassed in a store, and on the left side, you see another victim. Here's a man at the top on this side running for his life. On the very bottom, a man being pulled off the bus, another man with his suspenders being ripped from his body. This is an interesting shot. The gentleman sitting on the ground being surrounded by people. Here is, on the bottom, another incident. And finally, a policeman that was hit by a glass bottle. So, I'd like to thank you very much. Do me a favor. If there's something you didn't like, please let me know. I want to make great videos for you. I need you to give me a thumbs up, but more importantly, I need you to subscribe and please tell me what kind of data you'll be looking for in the future. I'd like to thank you very much and you have a great day. Bye.